I was born and raised in the north side of Chicago. Single parent family, low income household, multiple kids in the family, and also in a neighborhood that you couldn't go outside safely. But that's just Chicago. Every person of color I knew was going through it. In fact, we have a phrase saying, the struggle is real, just to kind of all solidify with the idea that we're all going through it. However, I learned later in my career that there's different levels to the struggle. I went into youth case management because I wanted to make a difference. I knew the system. I had grown up in Chicago, and so I wanted to give back to young men who needed that support. Little did I know that almost the entire job is case notes. I spent hours upon hours typing notes in the computer instead of working with a youth population that I valued. That's why when any young person came through the door, it was just a breath of fresh air. And one of those young people was Jay. Jay is an amazing personality. He's tall, lanky, but kind of fit, maybe like 6'3", big eyes, slow way of talking, and he just oozed optimism and had a huge, bright smile across his face whenever he walked in the door. So I was always excited to see him. So I was typing away in my case notes one day, and I see his frame out the corner of my eye, and I immediately turned to him to smile, but something's off. He's not standing up straight. There was no, "What up, Nate? How you doing?" It was just looking down at the ground, shoulders hunched. I kind of guided him to our small little case management chair in the middle of our crowded office. And he sat down and I waited for him to talk. And then he said, "Today I got arrested, Nate." And it was all of a sudden like the air got sucked out of the room. A lot of young people get arrested. That's pretty normal in the city. But for Jay, it had a whole another level of baggage to it. In fact, when I had first met him, about 6 months after meeting him, Jay got arrested when he was a teenager. He and a friend went to a school and did what, stole what a lot of teens steal, which is devices and candy. He stole a TV and a bag of candy. They brought it back to his house. He immediately felt guilty. So he took the stuff back and he returned it and went along his way. Sure enough, later that night, the cops came knocking at his door. And when they asked him where he had been, he did what we teach a lot of young people, especially in white communities, to do. Be accountable. Tell the truth. Be honest with your mistakes. "I'm so sorry, officers. I grabbed that stuff when I shouldn't have, and I felt bad about it. So, I took it back and I put it back where it belonged, and I'm real sorry. I won't do it again." I want to say the officers wagged their finger at him and said, "Hey, I hope you learned your lesson." And then they walked along their way. Instead, they put Jay in cuffs. They brought him to the facility. And then they charged him with a potential sentence of 8 years in prison. 8 years. I went to every court case. I had a shoddy button-up shirt from Ross. I got a blazer from someone that I borrowed. I tried what I could with my case management salary to look as presentable as I could for this young man during each and every court proceeding every month. I went there in my suit, and he was brought in every day in handcuffs and a prison uniform. But every time he'd look over his shoulder, and he would just show that same beautiful, bright smile. You see, for him, this was normal. And for everyone else in the courtroom who had been going to these proceedings for years, supporting loved ones, this was normal. I was the only one who was horrified. Jay missed 2 Christmases, a couple birthdays, many holidays as we went through those court proceedings. Near the end of it, the public defender came running to me with a smile on his face saying, "Oh, we got a good deal. Only 2 years with time served and a felony. What a great deal." Again, I felt like I was the only one who was horrified. Jay eventually got out and he came to the youth center and we went right back to work. And with him, he had a crumpled list of all the things he wanted to do when he got out. And number 1 was learning how to cut hair. And he was avid about it. He was on YouTube every day in my office watching video after video of getting the styles down and looking good. In fact, it was pretty common that I had to wake him up at the end of the night when we were closing shop with him slumped over his keyboard, fast asleep. So what we did was we scrounged up some materials, we asked some favors, we used a little bit of the unrestricted funding we had, and we scraped together a barbering supply kit for him in a small bag. When I gave him the kit, Jay put his arms around me, his huge arms, and held me and cried, which is really hard for a young Black man from the city of Chicago to do. And then he went to work. I can say I was his first customer in that tiny, cramped office. The cut wasn't great, but it made him so happy it was worth it. And then he went to work trying to do freelance cutting for folks in the community. And one day, near that day that he came into my office, he went to cut in the suburbs of Chicago, the western suburbs. He went to a client's house, cut his hair there. The client looked good. He got a huge tip, and he was beaming walking down the boulevard. But that boulevard was different than the city streets. See, it had nice houses lying on both sides, nice cars in the driveway, and people suspicious of folks who didn't look like they belonged. Within 3 minutes of him walking down the block, the cops pulled up on him. They illegally searched him, and they said someone had called saying he was trying to break into people's cars on that street. And when they grabbed the barbershop supplies, they said, oh, you're using these supplies to break in the windows. And then they went to held Jay in the space for up to 12 hours, illegally, of course. The young man was on parole, though, so what chance did he have? What rights did he have? And they continued to interrogate him, asking him why he was breaking in those cars, just to admit it so he can get off. Jay stood his ground and was there for that whole 12 hours. And 12 hours later, they said, yeah, you can go, with one exception. They had to keep his barbering supply kit. In the present day, when Jay told me that part of the story, I was broken. There was a pit in my stomach. The world just felt sour. But as he told that part of the story, he was smiling. And it wasn't a sarcastic smile. It wasn't a crazed smile. It was a genuine smile. So I said to him, I said, Jay, this is a horrible story. I'm so sorry this happened to you. But why are you smiling? And he finally made eye contact with me and he said, I thought I was going to die back there, Nate. I'm just so happy to be alive. I'm so happy to be alive. Jay's story and the story of a lot of the young men I worked with really taught me what it means to be Black in Chicago and Black and brown in America. I've seen dozens of young men locked up over nothing. And I've seen young men that I never get to see again because they've been locked away in a system that doesn't believe in second chances. I vote because I'm tired of a system that continues to lock away our Black and brown youth, continues to lock away our futures. It doesn't support them in any way. I vote because it's time that we ended this system and look to new options and new ways to support young people. Thank you.